What's up? It's Mike, and what a great day to talk about games! I forgot! See, recently I've needed a new vice to pass the time. Hard drugs just weren't cutting it anymore, so I decided to get into gambling. I don't have any money to gamble though, so I had to put something else on the line. Obviously, I'm not good at it.
And what better way to practice losing all my earthly possessions than by playing gambling-related video games? Funnily enough, one of my earliest gaming memories happens to be a poker game, creatively called Texas Hold'em King 2, on my parents' old BlackBerry. I remember playing it for hours, not knowing what the fuck I was looking at, but going all in on every single hand and seeing how far I could go. It typically wasn't very far, but I do have fond memories of the thing. I don't think it left any addictive patterns in me whatsoever. It's been a hot minute since I last played a gambling game though, and now that I have a semi-functioning brain and an actual understanding of how the rules work, I think it's finally time to try a poker game again. So naturally I started with the one that plays the least like poker.
This is... Batro?
I think that's how you pronounce it, and if the dev himself doesn't even know how to pronounce it, I think I'm okay. Speaking of the dev, one person made this by the name of Local Thunk, and the game was published by PlayStack on pretty much everything within shooting distance. Even macOS wasn't spared. In terms of it being made by a single dude, this is insanely impressive, as this is one of the most replayable games I've seen in a long time, and is easily up there with Slay the Spire, Vampire Survivors, and Hades as some of the best indie stuff out there. That's showing my hand a little early, I know, but it really is that good. This is genuinely a dangerous game to own on Switch.
Does this look like a joke to you?
I think the Switch version is the one to get, as it runs extremely well on Nintendo's ancient little tablet. The portability complements the gameplay loop perfectly, but let's talk about that. How Batro works is essentially you attempt to get through 8 antes, each with 2 rounds and a boss round at the end. With the cards you have in your hand, you make the best poker combos possible to rack up chips, and if you hit a certain amount of chips, you can move on to the next round. In between rounds, you can buy Joker cards in the shop that can completely change your run-up, along with special cards that can do anything from change your card suits to leveling up your combos. You'll need these cards too, as some of these boss runs are complete utter fucking horseshit ass. But even those are still pretty fun to beat. For some added risk, however, you can skip rounds altogether to earn some tags that can do things like re-roll the boss at the end of the ante or guarantee a special rarity of card. But while going for this, you do lose an opportunity to spend in the shop. Trust me, once you start playing, you pick up fast, and the tutorial at the beginning does a pretty good job at easing you into what will likely become the next 7 hours of your life. Seriously, this game is that gripping. The presentation is very retro-y, with a CRT filter over everything that you can thankfully turn off if you aren't feeling it. The only sort of downside here is there's essentially only one music track through the whole game, but it's a decent enough loop where it doesn't really get annoying. I just wish there was a tiny bit more variety. Where there is variety though is in the Joker and other special card selections on offer here. No 2 run I've ever done has been the same, and I've done just a couple of runs. The one neat thing the game does is if you have a lot of stacking effects, like a bunch of multipliers or whatnot, as they stack up, the game will actually speed up through them, so you still get the satisfaction of watching number go up while not having to sit there for a century while the hand finishes up. It's a neat little touch in a game full of neat little touches, and if you are at all interested in any of this, then I highly recommend you give it a look. It's a crazy good roguelike that came out of nowhere to honestly become my game of the year so far, and while I doubt that'll last very long, it'll carry that title proud. Batro is an easy pickup, especially at its $15 price tag, and if you don't get it, then I really can't promise your kidney's safety.
I mean, who can nowadays? Okay, Batro's fun and all, but it isn't really helping me get better at gambling. So I think it's time to up the stakes.
What, you've never heard of high-stakes gambling on Game Boy before?
No.
How I got this game was, ironically enough, a gamble. I was at a local retro game store when I saw this random sealed Game Boy game, and while it didn't really look like anything special, it drew my eyes every time I went in, and there it stayed on the shelf for almost half a year. No one was biting for some reason, so my friends bet that I wouldn't buy it for $20. Luckily, the store owner was so happy to get it off the shelf, he sold it to me for $5.
So what did I win? Well, let's find out.
Before we get into the game though, let's check out this box. It's got a helpful story synopsis on it, so let's see what we're getting into. I'm Secret Agent Pete Rossetti. I guess you wanted some higher pay. And we gotta take down some gangsters. Which ones do you ask? Well, none other than the likes of the Vicious Machine Gun Max and Al Capone?
Say hello to my little friend!
With the help of Eminem, we gotta cheat our way through a series of gambling games. But I'm sorry, fucking Al Capone? The game starts and...
Is it clear?
High stakes gambling definitely starts with a bang, but the rest of the game is actually exactly what it says on the tin. You try to beat gangsters in their own Thunderdome, doing whatever you can to win rounds of blackjack, slots, poker, and poker to take them down. And it's okay. The fact you have to go through 10 rounds of each game is honestly a lot, and to me it got extremely repetitive extremely quickly. The presentation is nice enough, with exactly one idle animation of our incredible hero fishing for earwax. He seems to be on the edge of his seat for this extremely intense game. Everything here pretty much works though, and that's everything I have to say. It's a completely decent Game Boy game whose mission intro screen reminds me of much better Game Boy games.
Alright, I think I finally gambled enough to get all my games back. All I need is a couple more rounds and I'll have it in the bag.
Well, I may have lost the house, but at least I got Jonas.